Steve here. Today is Sunday, March 22nd, 2026. The S&P 500 sits at 6,740. We're not going to talk about charts today. We're not talking technicals. We are talking about the final ledger. We're talking about a plan that's been hidden in plain sight, an ace up the sleeve big enough to solve the problem that everyone says is unsolvable.
Look at this number. This isn't just a number, it's a monster. $34 trillion. That's our national debt, and it grows every single second. It's a weight, and it is crushing our future, a beast that just feeds on interest payments and decades of fiscal irresponsibility. You know this thing? It was designed to never be paid back.
Make no mistake about it. The path we are on is a dead end. When the cost to service your past mistakes is more than the cost to defend your present, the system has failed. Now, this isn't some political statement. It's just math. It's a certainty. The game has to change.
So, how do you fix a problem that's impossible? Well, you use a rule that almost everyone has forgotten about. See, deep within the U.S. Treasury's own balance sheet, there sits a lie, a 50-year-old accounting trick that also just happens to be a potential escape hatch.
On the official books of the United States government, our gold is valued at $42.22 an ounce. It's a joke. It's a relic. This isn't its real value, of course. It's a fictional price set by law way back when Nixon closed the gold window. It's a number they've just refused to change.
And the key word here is fixed. This wasn't some oversight. It was a deliberate choice. By keeping this price on the books, a very powerful tool has been held in reserve, just waiting for a crisis big enough to finally justify its use.
You know, the U.S. holds the largest official gold reserve in the world, 261 million ounces of it. At that absurd statutory price, it's worth a measly $11 billion. Okay, even at today's market price, it's worth around $650 billion. A nice cushion, sure, but it's a drop in the bucket against a $34 trillion debt. It just doesn't solve the problem.
So, if the market price isn't enough, you change the price. The Treasury doesn't have to follow the market. It can set the price to whatever it needs it to be. And this has been done before. President Roosevelt, he did it back in 1934, revalued gold overnight to devalue the dollar and fight the Great Depression.
And that right there brings us to the central idea. Forget supply and demand for a second. Forget futures contracts. What if the price of gold was set by just one single variable, the amount of debt that needs to be completely extinguished?
This is the number. This is the number that balances the books. $125,000 per ounce. Now I know, it sounds impossible, but it's not based on speculation. It's the price required to make the asset side of the nation's ledger equal the liability side. It's the price for a jubilee.
And the math, it's brutally simple. You take the 261 million ounces of gold held by the Treasury, you multiply it by this new statutory price of $125,000 an ounce. And just like that, the value of America's gold reserve skyrockets to $34 trillion, the exact amount of the national debt. It's the ultimate debt-to-equity swap, but on a sovereign scale.
Okay, so you have an asset now worth $34 trillion. How do you actually use it to cancel the debt? You don't sell the gold. No. You use it to back a new instrument, and then you perform a simple, clean transaction with the Federal Reserve.
The mechanism for this is surprisingly straightforward. It happens in 4 steps. First, the President and the Treasury revalue the gold by executive order. Second, the Treasury prints $34 trillion worth of gold certificates, basically receipts for the gold it holds. Third, it gives those certificates to the Federal Reserve. In exchange, the Fed gives back all the Treasury bonds it holds as assets. And finally, the Fed cancels those bonds. They just cease to exist. The debt is gone.
The effect of this is immediate and profound. Those crippling interest payments that just drain our national budget, they vanish overnight. The debt monster is slain, and not with punishing austerity or crippling new taxes, but with a simple accounting entry backed by a physical asset.
Now, an action like this would not happen in a vacuum. It would trigger a global shockwave. This would be the great reset the people have been whispering about for years, a forced, instantaneous shift in the very foundation of the global monetary system.
And the entire point of a move like this would be to restore credibility. After decades of printing money with absolutely no constraint, this would be a declaration to the entire world that the US dollar is no longer just a promise. It would be anchored once again, like it was for almost 200 years, to gold.
And I want you to remember, this isn't a fantasy. This is a mechanism that's been used before and is still legally possible. It's the ultimate emergency lever in monetary policy. It's an escape hatch for a system that has completely run out of road.
So as you watch the markets this week, remember what's being held in reserve. The government always has a way to change the price of the game. The question is no longer if this era of infinite debt is coming to an end, but how. Will it be a controlled detonation, like this one, or an uncontrolled collapse? This is Steve. Keep your eye on the gold.